Welcome to BioTV. In this episode, we will be looking at vaccines and how they work. But to do this, we must first understand our immune systems. The immune system consists of three main groups. These are called the three lines of defense, and they are what stop you from getting sick. Our body's first line of defense includes the skin, which acts as a physical barrier. There are also the mucous membranes, which are located in most of the body's orifices, and these block pathogens' paths of entering the body, then expels them. There are secretions such as tears and sweat, which chemically work to break down pathogens. The second line of defense can commonly be misconceived as the work of a pathogen rather than the body. A fever is produced by the body for two reasons: either to attempt at killing the pathogens with heat, or to speed up the repair rates of the cells using heat as the catalyst. Inflammation is also a symptom which is caused by the body. This causes the infected area to become hot, swollen, and red. The heat is also used to speed up repair rates of the cells, while the swelling and redness is caused by the dilation of capillaries. This allows for more proteins and cells to pass through the capillaries to the infection, allowing for clotting and scabs to form. Possibly the most important part of this second line of defense are the phagocytes. These cells are able to engulf foreign matter, then break it down and expel it from the body through the capillaries. But this waste expulsion is known to the general public as pus. The third line of defense can be broken into two categories: humoral response and cell-mediated response. Humoral response includes the white blood cells called B cells. These cells are able to recognize materials foreign to the body through markers called antigens. Once a B cell finds an antigen, it binds to it and begins to mass-produce clones which have the correct antibodies to combat the intruder. Most of these clone cells are produced to fight off the intruder material, while some live long enough to remain in the body, in order to remember how to combat that foreign material if it enters the body again. The cell-mediated response works differently, but still in cooperation with the humoral response. This response uses the white blood cells called T cells. These cells are special. They are able to kill the body's own cells when they have been infected by a pathogen. These cells also produce mass clones, including those which are able to fight the infection and some which are able to remember the infection. So what happens when you come in contact with a disease like diphtheria? Diphtheria is caused by the toxins released from bacteria once they enter the bloodstream, but the body works extremely hard to prevent that from happening. This disease is able to be passed on through bodily fluids. Saliva in particular has enzymes which allow it to break down bacteria, but this won't always be completely successful, and the bacteria may still enter the body. Once this happens, the body produces a fever in an attempt to burn up the cause, as well as sending in the phagocytes from the second line of defense to try and contain the bacteria. This, however, works in the bacteria's favor, as it is able to outlast the phagocytes, and they become a layer of dead cells covering the lungs and airways, making the throat sore and causing breathing difficulties. Once the toxins are released, there is nerve damage, as well as a high risk of heart failure. So it's clear that nobody wants to have a disease like this, or any other disease which is used to cause hundreds of people to die. Luckily, there is a way to support your immune system when it comes to fighting off diseases, and it usually comes at the end of a needle. The aim of a vaccine is to get the body's third line of defense to attack so that it can create the memory cells in particular. These will remember how to fight off the specific infection and be on the lookout so that if it does come back, the body will be stronger and faster to take it down. Here's a little comparison. The first time the body comes in contact with a disease, it can take a week or longer for the immune system to work through all three lines of defense. Whereas when the body meets it a second time, it is able to fight it off up to 7 times faster. These vaccines sound like miracles, but what is it that we are actually injecting into our body to get these amazing results? There are 4 main types of vaccines. These include a weakened live version, which is used for measles and chickenpox, a killed version, which is used for polio, a subunit vaccine, where the vaccine only contains a small part of the disease called the antigens, which is used for whooping cough. And finally, there are toxoid vaccines, made specifically for bacterial diseases which release toxins. These work by weakening the toxins so they cannot damage the body, and this is used for diphtheria. People may still experience a small fever and some inflammation after a vaccine, but remember, this is the body working through its line of defense, not the disease. How do we get these vaccines, and how do we know which ones we need? Australia has a free national immunisation program which distributes vaccines deemed necessary to all Australian citizens. Some vaccines which are part of this scheme are polio and diphtheria, which are given at 2, 4 and 6 months in order to build immunity. There are also boosters given for these two diseases at different times to make sure the body has enough of these memory cells. The current diphtheria vaccination is extremely effective, as in the last 20 years in Australia, no one who has gotten the vaccine has died from this disease, and actual cases are extremely rare. Polio is still an issue overseas, but thanks to the immunisation, Australia has not seen a case of this disease in almost 30 years. The program aimed at smallpox was so effective that it was eradicated in 1977, and currently children are not required to have vaccines for smallpox, due to it no longer being a danger. Statistics in the US also support the use of vaccines, with diseases that used to cause infection and kill hundreds per year are now on average killing no one, and cases of the disease are extremely rare. Economic status is not an issue for obtaining the vaccines, as they are free, and other financial benefits are withheld for not vaccinating children, such as family benefits and childcare payments. This further encourages the vaccination of children. This is vital for the larger population to survive diseases, as the more people vaccinated, the less times you will come in contact with the infection. The government helps to keep us safe from people who are infected through the Public Health Act. This act requires local health units to be notified of any cases of the infection, so the source of the infection can be identified and anyone contagious is able to be isolated while they pass the disease on to others. This allows for the spread of contagious diseases to be controlled extremely effectively. Thanks for watching this episode on BioTV about vaccinations.